thank you so much for agreeing to this elder teaching. The request was to help me with my community dialogues, and to help us younger people understand the value of our protocols, our principles, our teachings in our life, and just to help me as a young person educate and create an awareness in the best way possible, for those that are, learning, continuing to learn, for those that are new to this learning process, and those that are on a journey of discovery and self-discovery as well. So I acknowledge your contribution on this day. We're following protocol, and the proper gifting is in place of tobacco for this exchange, to acknowledge the wisdom that's coming to us from yourself.
Okay. Git connect sa matsimukwa utapi sinakia. En yestio katumanita kutsi puispi. Agit kanasuka pinita kutsi puispi. Akitiko piku. Kupi kuskichipisa. Kiakitus the pitsi pat nichitapi manestaxim stuck binan manestapata piece binan num xachko. Dan is chipu tooks binan is the batapi of no mak. Xachkumita pial was stomach. Okay. Nisto ni tane ko espukumikwan. Hello, my name is Pablo Russell, and I come from the Blood tribe, and I just said that I hope that all of you, get a better understanding of our way of thinking and our way of life here in the Blackfoot country. We are one of the very few tribes that still has a complete sun dance, and we practice it yearly and daily. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit there. But I guess, I grew up with my grandmother, my grandfather, for the first part of my life, and then went back to my parents, and then I mostly stayed at my grandmother's house when I was much older. And she was 94 when she passed on. So she taught me a lot, my grandfather, and I used to hang around with my great-grandfather, and all these people would tell stories of the past, because we don't write things down. So we have to repeat the stories to keep them accurate and straight. And then when I was 19, I joined the piercing Sundance. And I pierced and I danced for 4 days without food and water. And I broke. And that was the beginning of my spiritual path. And then when I finished my 4 years of sun dancing, then I became a leader in training. And eventually I was a leader. And after some time, I was running my teacher's Sundance because he was too sick. And then when he passed away, I ran it for 2 more years, and then I had my own Sundance. His son took over his Sundance. And I run my own Sundance since 13 years now. When I was 25, I went on a vision quest, and riding on stone, that's where you go sleep for 4 days to find what it is the Creator wants you to do on earth, your purpose in life. So we go to a sacred place, and we put away our food and our drink, and we pray, and we stay there for the 4 days, hoping to get a dream seeking power, seeking purpose in life. And this is what we do as First Nations people, to find ourselves and to remember why we put ourselves on this earth. Because you forget that when you're born, you forget why you put yourself here. So these are the reasons why we go up to the hill. And when I was up there, I was told to come and teach the children how to be like the buffalo. And a buffalo is the only animal that faces a storm. That's why the storm passes quicker. And for us First Nations people, we relied heavily on the buffalo for our existence. Every facet was part of the buffalo in our life. And then we also followed his example of facing the storm. So when it was really cold, the old man would come out in a blanket, and he'll say, "What examples are you to my grandchildren? You men, you go hunt. You women, you go get wood and water. And it's so cold, the knife sticks to the meat, and they have to sit on their hands. And the women are getting wood and water, And that night, they have a lot of wood and they have a lot of water. They're going to survive. So, we've been here for a very long time, the Blackfoot people in this area, 16,000 years is a long time we've been here. And so we know our territory, and we know our animals and the spirits that dwell in these lands. And that's what keeps us going in our ceremonies and our cultures. Hi.
Hey, thank you, Pablo. I just want to acknowledge, again, all of the teachers that have created this awareness, and this awareness that's, been a big part of who we are in our ancestral lands. And I acknowledge all of those, those teachings, those stories that have come down to us through the generations. And I acknowledge all of the, all of the ones that do ceremony still today to ensure that these stories still have the breath of life in them, meant to help people in their lives, help the innocent children, and just to acknowledge, all of you that carry this medicine, this sacred medicine for us. So I acknowledge that. I want to let you and everybody else know that, I apologize sincerely that the camera isn't working on this recording. So it's not that I don't want people to see me. I think I'm beautiful, but it's not that I'm not sharing my screen. It's just that it's not operating today. So I just acknowledge, all of the wisdom that comes to you, and, just apologize because we're not, you're basically talking to a black screen. But the source of, energy and the source of life that comes to us in these stories is so sacred. And so, the questions I'm going to ask for this teaching, just share what you can, just share what you're comfortable with, just acknowledging that next week this is going to be shown during our community dialogue. And, with the direction of, the conversations that have taken place and that have brought us to basically this time and this date. There's been a lot of acknowledgement about, those sacred values and those protocols that we still practice as Blackfoot people in our ancestral territory. And, truth is one of those really sacred values that, help us interpret who we are as human beings, but also govern all aspects of who we are as we interpret life. And so I guess my question is, along this sacred teaching, truth as a sacred value in our worldview, as elders teach us young people about life as Blackfoot in our ancestral lands through creation stories, morality stories. How do elders interpret truth in the transfer of knowledge?
Well, the truth is, I guess that comes from nature's law, hey. And as First Nations people, we follow nature's law, and that governs us. The natural laws of creation, and we follow those natural laws. And man, they other men, they made up their own laws that govern them. And they they do not take care of Mother Earth. And for us, because we follow nature's laws, we exist. The existence is important, just like the existence of a tree. So if a tree knows that he's gonna pass away or he's sick, he'll make a lot of pine cones, and then that tree is gonna die soon because it creates a lot of pine cones before it passes away, so his species can continue. And for us as First Nations people, we follow the same examples. So for our species to continue, we cannot overuse or over harvest our environment. We only take what we need, and we leave, it to continue for our children and grandchildren. And that's why they call us the first environmentalists, because the truth is what I talked about. We have to continue our people, our way of life, and that's going to go through our children and our grandchildren. We will be immortal through the blood from them. So that's why we take tobacco and we give Mother Earth tobacco before we take something from her, whether it's a rock, a stick, herbs for medicine, plants to eat, or a deer or a buffalo. Whatever we take from Mother Earth, we always give tobacco first before we take from her. Because it's not our land, it's our children's land. We're just borrowing these things while we're here, but they belong to our children and grandchildren. And that's why we put tobacco and we tell the Creator and Mother Earth and what we're picking for permission to pick them, and for two to grow in its place for future generations. And then we pick those plants, and we only pick what we need. We don't over harvest. The same thing with buffalo or anything we use. We don't over pick. We just pick enough for us to make it through the winter till the next year. And so this is the truth. What I'm talking about when it comes from our people. And we are, of course, we're Blackfoot people. So my grandfather used to say, second is not good enough for us. We have to have the best. And lying isn't good enough for us. We have to have the best, which is the truth. So he instilled that into me growing up, that you had to be truthful and honest, because the Creator is looking at you every minute, and you have to answer to him when you're facing, at the end of your time here. So we're well aware of these kind of things. And so that's why the truth is in every facet of our culture. Our pipe stem. We say, as straight as this pipe stem, tell the truth, tell the story of what happened. So the guy, he smokes that pipe and he has to tell the truth. And if he doesn't, then something will happen to him, because the pipe is the law, the natural law. And if you go against the natural law, things happen to you. And then we work for the smudge. And the smudge represents truth. It's bringing our prayers up to the Creator and His spirit helpers. So these are the things that remind us about being truthful. Is seeing the sun all day. That reminds you to be truthful. To see Mother Earth and creation, that reminds us to be truthful. To see our kids running around, messing up and stuff, that reminds us to be truthful, because they're going to copy us. And the nature, we depend on nature. So if we want synchronicity, we want nature to pity us, then we have to keep doing the truth in every facet of our existence here. Yeah, so for me, just generalizing what the truth represents in our culture. It's in our ceremonies, it's in our talk, the way we talk. When you speak Blackfoot, you tend to tell the truth there. When you speak English, it's a lot of gray areas, and it's easy to mislead people. But when you speak the language, you feel obligated, because it's your mother tongue. You feel obligated to tell the truth, because the truth will create self-respect. The truth will heal unresolved issues inside of you. So these are things I could elaborate a little bit more, but when you talk about the truth as a part of our culture, this is what I'm talking about there. Yeah. Han.
Yeah, thank you so much. And what I heard from your teaching, you touched on so many different components. As we interpret ourselves as a human being, and yeah, we are different, from the animals. We're different from the trees, we're different from the birds. But you already said, there's a synchronicity, and there's a natural law and a natural order that's in place. And we our ancestors figured out that we don't have dominion over our environment. We talk to the plants like they're our brothers and our sisters. We talk to the animals in much the same way. So can you just help me, kind of interpret how that worldview of the Bible tells the Bible says that God gave dominion to man, but us in our Blackfoot worldview, there's no concept of that dominion. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, our view is the exact opposite. We as a human being, I don't care if you're First Nations or you're Arabic or colored or white or Oriental, you cannot live naked. Wherever you live, you can't live naked. If you live in the desert, you live in the forest, you live in the prairie, you cannot live naked. You will freeze or you will have sunburn, whatever. We need to cover ourselves to stay warm and to survive. And we need a fire to keep warm. We cook our food. You know, we do not have the ability to defend ourselves against animals because we don't have claws and we don't have big teeth and so we need a shelter to live in. We cannot just live on the prairie or on the open ground. We need all these things to survive. When you look at animals, they have their fur. They can sleep in the night out on the ground, whether it's winter or summer or spring. They can stand in the rain. They won't catch a cold. So we are the pitiful ones. And our illusion is wrecking the world. Our illusion is making everybody fight each other and have grudges and animosity all down their generations. They hate the other people. That's our illusion. That's our own law. That's not God's law. We talk for God, which is a sin, you know. We help each other. We care for each other. The animals, they felt sorry for us because we couldn't survive on our own. So they taught us and they pitied us and they gave us songs and they gave us rituals and they taught us how to live in the prairie. They taught us how to live in family groups called clans. You know, they're the ones who taught us to live in clans. The wolves, Makoyi, they were the ones who taught us to live in the clans. You know, and then the beaver, they felt sorry for us, so he gave us his pipe. And all the animals contributed something to that pipe, their song and part of their body. And at the end, there was 400 animals in that bundle because they felt sorry for the human being, because we make mistakes and we don't follow God's law, you know. And so this is why we have a different way of thinking than people follow the Bible there, you know, because we don't destroy Mother Earth and we don't take and take and take and not give anything back. You know, we give before we take from her, and we recycle, and we move so we don't overuse one area. You know, we keep moving so the earth stays strong and healthy for the future generations, you know. So these are the things that, you know, when you talk about how come truth is so important to us and how come we think different than what the Bible teaches is about, you know, um, dominion over the earth. Look where that has led us now. You know, we are globally in crisis. The environment, we're heating up. There's tornadoes, there's earthquakes, there's floods, there's famine, there's drought in places that are not normally like that, you know. So the world is Mother Earth is suffering because of all the pollution, all the cars, all the things that people make, so our lives are a little bit easier, you know, and then our mind just keeps getting more superior, thinking we are superior. and we stop caring for each other, you know. We don't care for each other as much, and we get selfish and we get stingy. Back in the day, we shared because we had to survive. And today, you just kind of take care of yourself and your close ones. We're not sharing, we're not a community anymore, you know. So these are the things that transgress when you're following this way of belief where there's no recycling, there's no renewal involved. You know, the word renewal needs to be added, needs to be added into people's uh, thoughts and way of being, because if you don't renew something, you know, it dies. And then what do you do? You know, what about your children? What are they going to have? What are they going to eat? Where are they going to live? You know, and globally, people are not thinking of the children. They're just thinking of myself, my pension, my job, you know, and producing things. And yeah, we just take and take and take, and we're just destroying the world. We're not thinking of the children. We're thinking about ourselves. We don't think about the children's future. We think about our careers. So the shift has to take place because the kids are the future. The kids are important. And that's why we put emphasis on the children with love and patience and teaching in a good way. They will copy us. So if you are abusive, they will be abusive. If you're angry, they will be angry. They will copy you. So it's your responsibility as a parent to behave properly and show good example to the kids. But we lost self respect and we don't care how we act as long as we act and our kids see it. And we like to control with fear and anger. That's not a man to control and scare his kids and his wife. That's not a man. You know, my grandfather used to say, if you want to act like that, go to war. You want to be mean to your wife and kids? Go to war. Fight another man. They can't defend themselves on you. That's a coward. You go to war if you want to fight. You know, if you want to be mean, go to war. Go get humbled, you know. So these are the things that we were taught growing up as First Nations people, you know, and we lived a good life until boarding school came. And they started, you know, the kids grew up with no protocols. And now we are re-implementing these teachings and these educations back to the First Nations people that didn't go to boarding school, and some that, I mean, that went to boarding school. They have to heal, and that's across the board. You know, all nations in Canada and USA, not just us, South America, Australia, Africa. You know, these people were overrun, conquered with diseases, and their land was stolen. You know, and the same with Canada. The land was stolen from us. It wasn't paid for. They didn't win it in a battle. They won it with disease. You know, which is not a warrior way. So we don't believe that we gave our land up. We were told we were going to share it. Not they weren't. They never said they were going to take it. They were going to share it, which means, you know, we're a nation. So if people want to come to Canada, you should ask First Nations people permission to live here because it's our land. But nobody asks us. You know, they don't ask us. It's our land. You should be asking us. But you ask the white man who stole our land if you can live here, you know. That's why First Nation people are upset, you know. All these children passed away in unmarked graves. A lot of people are angry about that because we love our children. And everything I talk to you about today is about our children, you know. We put a lot of energy into educating them, showing them how to smudge, showing them how to pray. We tell them to share and to be kind and to respect elders, you know. And these are the things that, you know, we are trying to reteach again because for 3 generations, they put the people in a boarding school when they never learned their language, they never learned their protocols and customs. But the Blackfoot were stubborn people, and we hung on even though they did that to us. And still today we have our ceremonies. A lot of my brothers and sisters across Canada can't even speak their language. They have no clue about smudging in their culture. So a lot of damage happened after the storm passed. Now we have to pick up the pieces and regroup. And that's why I like to share with all of you, because everybody needs to heal, not just First Nations people. All cultures need to heal from all this consumerism. We have lost our ways, we have lost our teachings, and we have to remember them and get them back, you know, and follow them, especially now, you know. If you don't know who you are, if you don't know where you come from, how do you know where you're going to go? How are you going to know? We rely so much on technology and following the white way. They're leading us over a cliff,
Mhm.
you know? Don't follow them. Follow your culture, follow your heart, follow the rules of Creator and Mother Earth. If you tell the truth to yourself about things that you need to forgive yourself about, then you will open those doors inside of you for self love. The truth is what's bringing everybody back to the center of themselves, back to the Creator, back to Mother Earth, and back to happiness. Because when we look at a situation, something we don't want to remember, it's because we don't accept that we were a part of it. We don't accept that it was our fault, or we don't take ownership. So that's why we run away from ourselves. You know, when I was young, I put all my kids and my nephews and nieces in the car, and we went to get ice cream. And I'm a very impatient person. I'm always hurry, hurry, hurry. And so when they got in, you know, I didn't even look, and I backed up, and there was my nephew. I almost ran over him. And all my life, I don't want to remember that image. I don't want to remember that time. And when I had to find myself, I put the truth into it and said, well, it's your fault. You're too impatient.
Mhm.
You rush too much. And it's your fault that you almost run into him. So when I took ownership of that, then I can remember that memory and I can deal with it, eh? It's not something I push out of my mind right away as soon as it comes up, because there's guilt there. And the truth, they say, will set you free. You know, all these statements, you really should look into them because they are true, you know. So I put the truth in every facet of my mistakes, and then it makes me take ownership. It shows me I'm lazy, or I didn't want to do it, or I didn't know how to do it, or I was afraid to do it, you know, whatever. If you put the truth into all these things, it'll eliminate all the guilt and the self-guilt, which allows you to really love yourself unconditionally. Because that's the hardest thing for anybody to do. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you come from. The hardest thing is to love yourself unconditionally. You compensate by taking care of others, thinking, well, if I take care of others, then that's okay. I don't have to really do something for me. And the more you don't do something for you, the more you take care of others. And then you get burnt out, you get tired. Oh, I'm helping everybody else. And what do you do for yourself? Oh, not much. And that's just about every caregiver's situation. So you gotta love yourself. And when you love yourself, then you'll know when to stop. You'll exercise to have more energy. You'll eat properly. You'll be happy. You won't be walking around angry at the world. So these are the truth is so important. It's one of the most important things out of all those sacred teachings they teach these days. Those teachings from down east, the seven grandfather teachings, or whatever they call that. For us Blackfoot, all those seven grandfather teachings are in every teaching. They're not, here's truth, here's honesty, here's, whatever. They're all encompassed in every one of our teachings. We don't separate and analyze them because you kill it. If you take a frog apart, here's his heart, here's his lungs and all that. You put him back together, he's dead. He's not going to come back alive. And our existence is vibrant. It's alive. It's not dead. So all these different grandfather teachings, they all come together to make one teaching here. They all come together to make another teaching. They all come together to make another teaching. We don't separate and analyze each, word. It's a part of us. It's a part of everything we should be doing. How can you have wisdom without loving yourself and without finding the truth? How can you gain wisdom? How can you be honest if you don't have the truth? How can you forgive if you don't know the story about what happened to begin with? You need the truth to accept and forgive. You need the truth to say, well, maybe I'm not the kind of guy that should be riding this horse, as an example. Or maybe I'm not the guy that should be jumping off this cliff because I'm not in shape and I could get hurt. See, the truth makes you realize and makes you see reality. Because our head alone will create illusions and will create, insecurity and competition and jealousy and control. But if you put the truth into it, your heart starts speaking. And it overrides the head when it needs to. So yeah, the truth is quite important, and we need to put the truth into every teaching. The elders need to put the truth into their own healing. And people in general have to learn from First Nations people on how to forgive. And they have to learn from First Nations people on how to connect to the land and how to speak to Mother Earth. They do not know the language anymore. They lost the language when they gave up their culture and started following the white way. And, that's progress. And everybody, I guess, has to live like that in one way or another. But that's your personal choice. You can live in a teepee all your life. That's your personal choice. But people want comfort. They don't want to live in a teepee. They want a heater. They want a TV. They want a running water. They want a, you know, kettle for their tea. They want a coffee pot. They want a fridge. They want a stove. And they want a bed. They don't want bugs crawling around and rain on them, or flies, or smoke. Too much smoke in the teepee. Their clothes smell like fire. No, people want comfort. And that's why nobody wants to fight for Mother Earth, because they like their cars, they like their transportation, they like their vacations, they like going in the grocery store and buying things. They don't want to go hunt and butcher and, you know, cut out a flank or a steak or something. They just want to go. It's convenient. It's convenient. It makes us lazy. And when you're lazy inside. You don't want to look at yourself. You just keep existing. You're not living. You're just existing. You try to be like everybody else. That's why you're miserable. Yeah, you're wearing the Nikes, you're wearing the latest fashion, you got the high heels, you got the bags, whatever, but you're not happy because you're an individual. And you're trying to be like everybody else, and you don't even know who you are. That's why you're unhappy. You're living the life, but you're unhappy. You're copying everybody, what they say and what they do, but you're not happy inside. You have to know who you are. You have to be an individual. And then life means something, and you'll be happy. You can be a drunk all your life and you'll die. You can go to education and work all your life and never be happy and die. You can enjoy life and be happy and work and know your relatives and share your culture and practice your culture and die. It's up to you how you're going to live from zero to the end of time, to the end of your days. That's your choice. Some people give up and they don't do anything and then they pass on. Some people work and work and work and they die and they can't bring their money with them. Kids fight over it, fight over the land that they left. They didn't leave things like they wanted to. They had a goal. I'm going to work, and give my kids all some land and they can be okay when I go. And then when he passes on, the kids fighting over it, fighting over the land, don't talk to each other anymore for the rest of their lives. It didn't go the way he wanted it to go. So, these are the things to understand. There's a balance, hey? There's a balance in the world, and there's got to be a balance inside of you. You can't be 100% pure, and you can't be 100% dark. You have to have both in order to accept. That's the truth, night and day. And so inside of us is night and day as well. What we don't accept is the night part. We don't accept that part. We do it, but we don't want to accept it. That's why we don't know ourselves. We have to accept the bad part of us as well. We can't just accept the good part. We have to accept both and say, this is me. This makes me a human. This makes me an individual. Just like night and day, I follow my mom and my dad. There's night and day inside of me. And I have to accept that in order to be happy, If I deny and ignore, then I will always be insecure. I'll always be insecure about myself, and I'll always be insecure about other people. I'll think, oh, that guy's trying to, he might steal from me, or he might do this to me, And then when you approach them, they say hello, and then they walk by and say, huh, he didn't do what I thought he was going to do. That's the mind making illusions,
Mhm.
you know? When we look at somebody and we judge them. Oh, that's a bum. Oh, that's a rich person. Oh, that's a middle class. And we treat them according to what we see, you know, because we don't accept ourselves fully. We don't accept certain people in life. Eh? And once we accept ourselves fully, then we can be good with every level of people, because it's not just about me, myself, and I. It's about us, and that's what's going to make us heal Mother Earth. Is when we start thinking about us, not me, not you, us. And that's why it's important to learn the First Nations way of thinking and being, because you're in our land, and this is how it ticks here. This is how it goes here, and we are still have our culture, and we still connected to Mother Earth, and we are still powerful people. They have not assimilated us. We are still fighting, and we are still taking back what they took away from us, because we hang on to our culture.
Mhm.
We hang on to our smudge. We hang on to our pipe. We hang on to our relationships with each other, with respect, with honesty, with admittance. When we confess, that's humbleness and humility. And that's that's the strength of spirituality, humbleness and humility, because that brings you to God, and that brings you to the door of your heart.
Mhm.
But it doesn't get you into your heart, it just brings you there. What gets you into your heart from spirituality is forgiveness.
Mhm.
Forgiving people that hurt you, forgiving yourself for hurting people, and especially forgiving yourself for hurting yourself.
Mhm.
Then you get back into your heart. But it's a long journey. A lot of people don't like to make that journey because it's far and it's a lot of hard work. So they rather stay in the illusion, and they rather have fun, and they don't like things to be hard. Every summer we move to our teepee. We stay there for the summer, Sundance ceremonies and picking herbs and getting ready for fall. And it's hard. You have to chop wood, and you have to make fire, and you have to, do a lot of house chores around a teepee, you know, and to maintain it. And then you deal with the heat and the cold, but the peace, the connection to your mother, hearing the coyotes and the wolves, and feeling the nature, that's really can't beat that. You know. And when I come back to this city, I feel sick. All the energy, all the confusion, all the chaos. I just want to go back to the prairie again. So yeah, there's something to be said about yeah working a little hard to find yourself, because people don't like to work hard unless they're getting money for it.
Mhm.
you know, but they don't like to work hard if there's no money involved. Well, this is more than money. This is your soul, your purpose in life. This is your existence. So I think it's worth more than money.
Mm.
And I think it's worth pursuing. If you could get out of this, money is my God. If you can get out of that and say, my creator is my God, then you work hard for it. Because there's no money involved, but you're going to work hard for it. But that's anybody in the world, you know. The only time they work is if there's some money involved and they get paid for it. If there's no money involved, I don't really want to do it, you know. That's the average person. There are some people that are kind and they work for charity and they don't care to get paid, but there are very few people.
Mm.
The majority, yeah, they want to get paid if they're going to give you their time, you know. It's not unconditional, it's conditional. The truth makes things unconditional, you know. So those are the things that I wanted to share with you on the question you asked me just now. Hi.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so grateful, Pablo. There's so many. I was just, you know, busy trying to keep, my own truth and the things that I heard in your teaching, and your teaching is so it's basic, but it's not. It's not just for me. It could be for everybody. You know, and it's so powerful the way you're able to weave this principle, this value, and to remind us that every single thing we do, every single thing we touch, we see, it's a part of this process.
Mm.
And there's a lot of things that I heard in what you shared with us. And that was a level of peacekeeping. I heard peacekeeping in your teaching and the expectation, of that peacekeeping, not only between us as brother and sister, but with our environment and how we live and the gifts that we've been given in our environment from our Mother Earth. And to be mindful of those things. The greatest thing in a personal teaching, and something I'm really humbled and grateful for, is you're reminding me, when we go and we pray for the herbs that we take or the medicines that we take from our mother, and we put down the tobacco, you reminded something. You reminded me that in my prayers, not only to state the intention of why you're taking this medicine in the first place, and what you're going to use it for. You also reminded me, and you taught me today, and that's something that I relearned, that I didn't know, that I forgot. You told me and you taught me. You always say, this thing that I'm taking, please let two grow in its place. That's a new teaching for me, so I'm grateful for that, and I'll do it now for the rest of my life. In your teaching, I also heard harmony, and it's our choice with how that shows up in our life. And if we're honest, it has the capacity to change us from the inside out as well.
Mm-hmm.
To be more happy, to be forgiving. And that, big teaching about self-love, I'm grateful for that. You already answered actually both of my next questions, and that was, how does this teaching on truth and, being honest, how does it apply in my own life? And you taught me these things about being honest about myself, and that transition between all those, that interference and that chaos that's created in my mind, how to see my way through that and let the journey travel from my head to my heart. You'd already taught me that so that I can change from the inside out. And then, as part of our validation process, this harmony and living here as a human being, you already talked about, being a good community person, a good citizen in this community that I'm living, and to think beyond myself, but to think about us first. So I appreciate, you've already answered, basically my next two questions. And that was, how does this truth apply in my own life? And then as a validation process, how does it build, support, and sustain relationships? So that I could be a good citizen in my community. You've already touched on all of those things, and I want to key in on something in particular that you said. And again, being a human being and being gifted with this thing called life, however long that is in our walk, in our journey here on Mother Earth, you also you put into this conversation that we're having today, in the spirit of teaching and transferring knowledge, that this not only affects you in your human form, but it affects your spirit too. So that when you go on to that next place, and you're sitting with Creator, you're sitting with our ancestors, and you have no choice but to be truthful and honest, and say, yeah, gee, I made a lot of mistakes. But you also touched on that spirit form, as well. And so maybe in closing, just, I don't know, in closing, when we create smudge and we do our ceremony and we ask basically for help in our lives, it's the energy is transformed into that spirit world. And, that's the pure energy, that exists for us as Blackfoot, as Indigenous, and that's the role culture continues to play. So, would you agree that, we're all walking around with the capacity of being lottery winners? We just don't understand what we're winning, because all we have to do is access and have room for culture and believing in that higher power, and then have relationship with that higher power. Would you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. Could you give me 1 minute?
Yes.
I'll be right back. Thank you.
No problem. No, it's just, I feel like we're walking around with lottery winners if we understand, if we understand and accept how culture and those ancient ways of who we are, shows up in our life, and how we allow it to show up in our life, because we can't be somebody else. We're us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's so important, to find out who I am. I was told that we chose the family and the lifestyle, because we want to make a difference. And then we're born into these bodies and into these families, but we don't remember. And that's why you have to rediscover yourself. And that happens when change happens, when you are transforming from a child to an adult. It's called puberty. And that's the best time to go on the hill. Then you find out, you remember why you put yourself on earth, with the support of the spirits, and your own soul talking to you. Because we don't really talk to our soul because it doesn't want to talk to us. We're insecure, we don't love ourselves, we're angry, we're shy, whatever. And our spirit doesn't really talk to us because we have an ego, positive or negative. So when you're on the hill and you're fasting and you got no water, you create humbleness and humility. Now you're teachable. Then your spirit wants to talk to you. And it tells you, reminds you why we were born in this family and what we're supposed to do. So when you come down the hill, you've got, purpose in life. And you got the support from the creator and synchronicity to fulfill that, whatever it is. And we're all put here for different reasons. So these are the things that are so valid and important. It's a rite of passage, and it's a rite of passage to transfer all this education to the kids. It's a rite of passage. And then someday if they live it and they utilize this information, someday they can be the authority to speak on it. A lot of what I shared with you was my personal discoveries when finding myself. So it was easy to answer some questions because I had to experience that myself. I had to come from boarding school traumas and issues and habits and find myself to become where I am today. I'm not perfect by any means, but at least I know who I am. And at least I love myself and I know my purpose in life. And this is why I share with people, these things, because I would like everybody to find their purpose in life and to live it. This is so important. And as elders, we're obligated to teach and to share our wisdom and our own education from our teachers and our understanding about the universe with the young. It's our obligation and it's our duty. And that's how we continue our existence on this earth. Continue the species, so to speak, is the elders teaching the younger people about the wisdoms of the world and how it works in the natural law way, and to make awareness and to educate. These things are so important for elders to share. And this is why in our culture, the elders are really quite important, because when we don't know what to do, we run to them for some support. We don't know about a dream. We go ask them about a dream, or we have to have some ceremony done. We ask the elders, and they're able to facilitate our requests in those times. So these are the things to understand when it comes to the questions that you had asked me, and I wish and I hope that who's ever listening also understand where I'm coming from, because we have no choice now. We have to come together to save our Mother Earth, and to reverse the global warming that's happening. And the only way is if we work together, and if we find ourselves, we'll work together better, and then our Father will be happy because his kids aren't fighting, and his kids are trying to work together to save their mother. And then the sun will pity us.
Thank you so much, Pablo. I'm so grateful for this time that you took out of your busy, I know, summertime, and, that's the time for ceremony and, healing and all the energies that, ceremony and, prayers help us all, help the community, help the whole world, to get back and to begin to regrow and heal and accept and all of those spirits and energies that exist. So I'm just grateful for the time. We're doing it this way. We're pre-recording so that we can share this this wisdom and patience, like you said, humility with everybody next week when we all come together. And I'm grateful for what you taught me today. I'm grateful for what you shared. And you're right. City centers are real busy places, and there's so much chaos and interruption, that happens that. And then we don't know, then we can't articulate why, going for a walk is so rejuvenating, or, going to walk the dog or whatever. And then we forget, well, we came from our Mother Earth. It's a real blessing to go back and simply say those prayers that, nobody needs to listen to, what we're praying, and to acknowledge and start to talk to our own souls and our own spirits. So thank you for everything that you do for me, that you do to support my work. I acknowledge that. I acknowledge, your wife, Rio, who's right there beside you all the time, the little one, to bless us with his medicine and his purity, even in this teaching today. So I acknowledge, all of those energies. I acknowledge those ones that are, with us and keeping watch over the truthfulness of our words and how we show up. And I just want to say I'm really grateful, the kindness and the patience and the compassion that comes through you as one of our elders, one of our esteemed elders and ceremonialists in the community. You, by your very words and your teachings, you showcase that we're, as Blackfoot, as Indigenous people, we're not just users of the systems. You, through your teaching, you also reminded everybody that's going to participate, and those that don't know about us or are just learning us, you said, you need to learn from us because we're one of the first people in line to teach others how to forgive. By the very nature of colonization that's happened in this country and all of the assimilation policies that we've lived through and continue to exist now, you brought that forward. If anybody wants to understand how to forgive, you should talk to a First Nations person. So thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. All of the good energy that that has come my way in this season, I give to you so that you can continue to do your work in the best way, and just understand that, all the blessings come to you in your household, 1,000-fold for all the energy and work that you do for all of us. So thank you so much, my brother. Thank you, Rio. And we'll see you soon.
Okay, and I just want to say one last thing to the people that are going to listen. Tell your kids I love you. Every day. Tell them I love you. They need to hear it. Hanya, thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege for me to share this knowledge with you. And thank you for the blessings. And I give the blessings for you, your family, and for all that participate in this recording, the session next week. You'll be in my prayers. I'll be on a hill, on a mountain, and I'll be praying for you guys while you're doing this. Hanya, thank you.